less political subject. Okay, let's see what the Last Epoch versus Path of Exile drama is
Its
here.
racks. Today has been an extremely interesting day, so I got a pretty good video for you today.
Okay, so Doors for the Wicked. It's still in early access, so not very like it's cool. It's great that they're adding it, but it's still early access, so not as hyped for it, right? This can wait. I don't care about this. D4, honestly, if you're still playing D4, you're wrong. The main problem is this. It took 9 months for Last Epoch to release season 2. PoE 2 finally comes out with some new content. It's still early access, but like this early access is better than most fucking fully released aRPGs. However, PoE 2 is gonna change a lot more. It's only one new class, and you would have to relearn everything right now. Not everything, but a lot for the passes, for the for the trees and stuff like that. Maybe weapons, uniques and stuff like that. To the point where it's like, because it's all subject to change, do I really wanna relearn everything so that I can, when they change it again, I have to relearn it again? And again, it could be like motivating to people. It's like, oh man, like a new information. Then it's like it's brand new information. It's brand new information. It's like a brand new game. Maybe for you it would be interesting. For me, not really. I want like the finished product. So for me, I'm probably skipping this. I don't really care about the Huntress that much. Paladin maybe would have been, but like don't care about the class too much. The endgame changes probably not gonna be anywhere near what I want it to be, so it doesn't really matter. So we are only looking at Last Epoch right now. Right? We have a class rework for my personal favorite class. Hell fucking yeah. More crafting, the new faction, right? Hopefully endgame is a lot more interesting now. It seemed like it is. I think Last Epoch has the most potential. Like it has a very solid foundation to work with, but they are lacking resources to work with that foundation, as you know, as is obvious from the 9 months between seasons. PoE 2 has a pretty good foundation too, but and has the resources. But because it has the resources, also, I just I know it will be there regardless. Last Epoch might not.
Um, there's so much news about all the different aRPGs, Last Epoch, Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2, No Rest for the Wicked, drama. Myself, Gazzy DMs, Zizarin, and Woody chatted about it for like 2 hours
And
on
it's
stream.
actually like the worst part is they're all in April, which is like fuck off, right? Now PoE finally has the. Sorry, I'm like literally just started the video. I'm already just pausing. Pause, champ. PoE 2. I remember when like Blizzard was always like when PoE releases something, Blizzard had to release something to like try and like stop them, right? To try to like remove the hype from PoE and whatever. Now PoE 2 feels like it does the same for Last Epoch, and again, it earned its spot to do that. It earned its ability. However, I think it would be a bigger, like a bigger person move, right? I want to be the bigger person. Who's the bigger person? I think PoE 2 could have delayed it by a few days. Like at least give Last Epoch like maybe a week, not 2 days, right? And again, I don't think Last Epoch should change its date because they're like these guys can always throw something to like block Last Epoch. So at this point, it's like it's not. There's no point, right? Well, these two. This one obviously not, but like these two can always. There's like too much content, too many games that it's like it's impossible to release something and not be countered by something else. So at this point, it's like you just have to like release when you release it. It does. I don't like that PoE 2 is more than likely actively blocking off Last Epoch. Diablo, well, Blizzard is known to be doing it, and like honestly, if you're still playing Diablo, I mean, you're wrong, but it is what it is.
I guess that's enough hype. Let's just get into it. So let's start with No Rest for the Wicked. I'll save the drama for the end. Maybe we can timestamp this. You can go to the drama if you want. No Rest for the Wicked. Do you guys know what that game is, or do you remember that game?
No timestamp.
It's a Souls-like aRPG. Well, they had an announcement today, and you can see over here in this column, they updated literally everything about the game. I mean,
Good.
like actually everything. The game is now going to be twice as big, and it's already a decent game. They redid the campaign with new zones, new side quests. They have new weapons. After you beat the already twice as big campaign, they have a new endgame system where like blight or pestilence or something spreads around the world. You have to cleanse it. It spawns bosses. There's endgame crafting.
Nice.
There's tons of quality of life. They gave you way more stash space.
I
They
need to play
completely
that
redid
game.
how loot is happening, and this is launching on April 30th. I really like this game. I like this game so much. Like a lot of streamers will say,
Which
"Oh, I
is
really
fine.
like No
It's
Rest for the
far
Wicked."
enough.
Well, you want to know a little fact about me? I beat it twice, full game clear twice.
Oh wow.
So I actually really do like this game, and I'm going to be playing it for sure. April 30th. Now, let's go to Diablo 4. Diablo 4 released the first day of their PTR, and usually I make a separate video for it, but I can summarize my findings pretty quickly here. So the new stuff is here. The Uber boss, Belial, is not in the, from what I'm hearing, it's actually not even in the PTR. So we can't test that. The bosses got reworked, and I didn't get to test this, but Woody did, and Woody said that progressing through like the torments and the bosses are actually significantly harder, as Blizzard said that they would be. So progressing through is going to be tougher, so that takes care of these things. There's new uniques and boss powers. I purposely didn't test the boss powers, even though I unlocked them, and the reason why I didn't is because I want to save it for the launch. I want to have fun. If I try them all now, then that's gonna, I'm not trying to be negative at all, but usually in Diablo 4, the content gets consumed very quickly. If I play with the boss powers now, then what am I going to do later on? So I purposely didn't use them. But I did test the leveling, and I leveled, you can see the timer, 3 hours and 19 minutes. I had some crashes at the end. I was only level 58 and a half. But I had so many crashes and bugs that I think on the actual launch, you're going to do it in about 3 hours. They said they wanted to make the leveling about twice as long. That was absolutely not what happened. You're going to go 1 to 60 in 3 hours unless they change something. And I believe
it's like you can't let people level extremely fucking fast and then try to slow it down. You can only speed it up. People will not be happy if you slow something down, especially when it's the least enjoyable aspect of the game. Okay? If you want to make leveling meaningful, you should have done that from the start. You're not gonna make leveling meaningful so far into the game. Like it's just not gonna happen. Everything that happens, like you start off, the campaign is slow, yada yada, leveling is slow, cool. People will try to speed through it because that is the repetitive aspect of the game. You can only do it so much with enjoyment. At some point, you're like, okay, like let's get this over with. Even PoE 2, as good as their campaign is, people are not gonna be happy to keep doing the campaign, right, over and over for every class and every season. Right? They're not gonna make multiple characters. They're gonna make the one character, whatever that is, like the season is around, is focused on, or like maybe like they want to try something out, but they're not gonna make multiple characters, right? And playing through like, I don't even know. Like I think the campaign is going to be like 40 hours because like Act 1, 2, 3 is like supposed to be like 20 hours ish. Like that's their goal, right? And then like Act 4, 5, 6 is gonna be another 20 or so hours. It's like most people are not going to be making multiple characters. You're going to have some people that do, obviously, but like for the most part, you're going to make one character per season, play it for like a few weeks, drop it, right? So making the campaign, now imagine like PoE was like, oh, you know what, like we don't like how fast you can go through the campaign because people are going like what was like 30 minutes. People finished Act 1 during the competition thing, right? And it's like, first of all, that's not regular players. But even if it was, right, you're not gonna make that shit slower. People are not gonna be happy.
That this comes out the 29th. So the 29th and then the 30th for this is not exactly favorable. But well, more on that in a second. So then we got
honestly,
PoE 2 news.
Honestly, though, this, in my opinion, doesn't matter. These games are so different that it really doesn't matter. This, Diablo 4, is when you don't have any brain, right? And you just still play this because, like, your brain rotted and it doesn't function anymore. So, like, you play Diablo 4 because you can at least still understand it. Whereas, like, this game that requires you to, like, methodically dodge, block, parry, whatever, abilities and like has actual boss fights and not just like HP sponges. Okay, this game is not for people who play D4. If you're playing D4, you probably cannot play this. If you're still playing D4, unless you're a streamer, you probably cannot play No Rest for the Wicked because you're just so fucking. Your brain is just mush. That's how it is.
News, and here's where
That's
kind
how
of
it
the
is.
drama sets in.
I didn't make the
Well, we already
rules.
know PoE2 is going to get a lot of stuff. They're going to get at least one new class. I think they said it was like the Huntress or the Amazon or something with
Yeah,
the
Huntress,
javelins.
yeah.
Look really cool. You're going to update the
Yeah.
end game and the gems and the passive tree and the end game passive tree and the towers. Are we going to get a new act? We're not sure. They updated weapon swap and weapons and uniques. That's what we know about
No
so
new
far.
act.
I think
more
they're doing
than
a
likely.
conversation about everything at the end of March. So that's happening. But the controversy comes from it's launching April 4th.
Yep.
And the weird thing about that is Last Epoch has announced in February that their big, huge update, if you don't remember, class rework, crafting, a new faction, dungeon rework, new sets, and the set rework about salvaging set bonuses and putting
I
your
would be
items.
so happy. I would be so fucking happy if Last Epoch's launch destroys PoE2 launch. Not because I hate PoE2, but because this is a dick move. And I always root for the small guy as long as it's like I always root for the small guy when the big guy is acting like a bully kind of thing. Right? Which by the way, PoE earned its spot as the bully, doesn't mean it has to act like one. So yeah, they could easily move this up a bit. No one would be mad about it if they moved it up, and then honestly they would probably earn more points. Not because like people are excited to play LE. I'm sure there's plenty of PoE and PoE2 players that don't care about Last Epoch, but this would earn them public points. Let's just say it like that, right? Like public perception about PoE would go a bit up if they let LE at least like maybe give them like the week or the weekend. You know, when is April 2nd? I think it's like midweek, honestly. Yeah, it's Wednesday, right? And then the weekend is what PoE is taking. So if PoE gave this weekend to Last Epoch, it would be a very nice move from them. They don't have to, obviously. They earned their spot as the top dog right now. So I understand it, and like everyone should be, you know, moving around to like not fight with them, which looks like what Diablo 4 did, and they decide to pick on No Rest for the Wicked instead. But like it's still a dick move. It's still a bully move. But yeah.
Champions, 30 new uniques. I think they said WASD is now in the game. Idle crafting in the end game. It launches April 2nd. So
And even if
right
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm pausing so much. Canadian sorry. Even if PoE is not would not be doing it on purpose, where it's like trying to cog block Last Epoch, even if it's just actually a coincidence. Even if it is, there is no way they're not aware after this announcement that they're not aware of this problem, right? And it's like it's not a matter of like, well, we are the bigger guy, the LE should move, right? It's like you're the bigger guy. It would be very nice of you to take the step back, to take the step to give LE its space. Not a great business move, in my opinion. Obviously, like being the bully is the better business move, but in terms of public perception, that would be the nicer move to do. And Last Epoch made it clear that it is impossible for them to move the timelines. First of all, it's already been 9 months. Second of all, there are too many games for such a small developer. There are too many games that will interrupt its launch. That's like even if they move away from PoE2, they're still gonna be stuck with some other release that is gonna be in their way, right? So it doesn't even matter what they do, they will like maybe like they'll suffer less, they'll suffer more, whatever, but they would still suffer by some other known IP getting released at a similar time. So it really doesn't matter what they do. They cannot release after PoE2, right? Because PoE2 people are going to be grinding that shit out. So it's like, what they're going to release a week after PoE2? That's not enough. 2 weeks after PoE2? Well, 2 weeks after PoE2 is going to be what, the 16th, right? It's like hopefully 2 weeks after PoE2 is enough, but probably not. You need like maybe like 3 weeks to a month because that's usually like when people start dropping off from aRPGs. But if they take that time, they're falling into the D4, which by the way, again, if you're still playing D4, God bless your soul. honestly, LE might be able to compete with D4 at this point. But again, D4 does have more players as a whole, just because it is more brain dead friendly.
PoE 2, April 2nd, then April 4th, right next to each other,
Yeah.
and then these two are right next to each other.
Yeah.
I would really doubt that these dates. I would doubt that these two companies
Competing.
maybe pay attention to each other's dates at all. But over here, Tencent owns 100% of Grinding Gear Games, and I think
Yeah.
they own, I don't know, 25% of Last Epoch. And according to Zizman, they're
Really?
actually aware of this, and they're launching essentially on the same day. So
Oh, I didn't even know about
2 days
that.
apart. So we had a big discussion about it, and we seem to be have a general conclusion here that this setup really hurts Last Epoch mostly. So the people that absolutely blast PoE,
Yeah.
and that's like their only game, they're completely unaffected by this. They don't care. They just want the PoE content to be out as soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
So it comes out on the 4th. But I think Last Epoch is going to hurt here. I think it's PoE being the bigger game currently. I think them going 2 days later is going to really cannibalize them. And then there's all these conspiracy theories about, oh, Tencent did this on purpose so Last Epoch would suffer, and then they could buy out the last 75% of EHG cheaper. That was a conspiracy theory that Gazzy shared. Not the
Possible.
craziest idea I've ever heard.
Possible.
But it really hurts EHG with Last Epoch, and really fans of both of the games. The general sentiment that I was hearing from people was they'll play Last Epoch for 2 days, and when PoE content comes out, it's PoE time, and Last Epoch can just go away for all they care. My personal opinion is I like Last Epoch. I think the game is fun. I think the game is better than most people give it credit for.
Yep.
And I would personally like to play Last Epoch for more than 2 days. So my current plan, I might change it, but my current plan would be to play Last Epoch the 2nd and the 3rd, play PoE 2 on the 4th, and then play half and half Last Epoch and PoE 2 for the next few days until I'll probably get, I'm guessing I get bored of Last Epoch first, but we'll see how it goes. That would be my current plan. But then the next thought here is, can either of them change their dates? Well, I think PoE 2 definitely knew Last Epoch's date ahead of time. So if they wanted to change their date, they wouldn't have picked the 4th. So I think PoE 2 is set in stone that they're going on the 4th. So then it's up to Last Epoch. What do they want to do? One thing that's very difficult to move around, or at least to set up administratively, is Twitch drops. So I think that they've already nailed that down with Twitch to have the Twitch drops start on April 2nd. I don't know, maybe they could move that, but that might add like a difficulty here. And maybe Last Epoch just doesn't want to deal with it. Maybe they say, we're not moving again.
Not only that, but like they're gonna have to move it so far away. It's gonna end up like it's like they can't move it like that. Like they can't move it a week. A week is not enough for PoE. Like if you're blasting PoE 2, a week is not enough. The only real solution here is either move it away for like a month and a half away from these guys at least, right? Specifically D4. Move it away from like a month and a half, which is like then going to be like over 10 months, which people are like already fucking excited for like a new season for Last Epoch. So it's like it's just it would, in my opinion, would cause more damage to Last Epoch if they move it, right? PoE 2 can easily move it, and like people would not give a shit. Like yeah, some people who like are PoE 2 like this is their the gospel, right? They would probably like not be happy with like waiting an extra week. But for the most part, I think like PoE 2 would practically not suffer by moving it an extra week. And the worst part is if PoE 2 launches with too many bugs on April 4th, this would actually look even worse on PoE 2's side compared to Last Epoch. So yeah.
Dates for other games in the past, and maybe they're getting sick of being pushed around. I'm really not sure. But especially since they're both owned by Tencent, I would personally, as an aRPG enjoyer, and honestly, we could say it over here about D4 and No Rest for the Wicked. Can we declare some kind of ceasefire here? Like when we know another game is about to come at a certain time, can we not schedule it like, I don't know, within 2 days of each other or within
Not
the same
gonna be
day?
possible.
Honestly, if you go later, even a week later or 2 days or 2 weeks later, you let people get it out of their systems, right? The people that like Last Epoch and PoE 2, if you let it give them 2 weeks, they can get Last Epoch out of their systems. I think you'll have even more people playing PoE 2. Then people say, well, PoE 2 is way bigger. They don't give a shit about Last Epoch. I mean, maybe, and that's I guess, a reasonable take, but also they're owned by the same company. And I mean, wouldn't you just like to have more players? I mean, I think you get more. If everyone gets Last Epoch out of their systems, I think in almost all cases, you get more players. Okay? So I think you could argue it the other way as well. Yeah, so that's kind of the interesting thing that's going on. Strange move. I like both games. I'll play all 4 of them, especially the No Rest for the Wicked thing. That update's not pretty sick actually. But I don't know. This would be definitely a topic where I would be very interested to hear what you guys think and see what comments people upvote and don't. But this is not the first time that this has happened. And I don't know. Is this happening on purpose? Is it just a magical coincidence that it's
This
2
has to
days
be on
apart? I
purpose.
think in this case, it actually might be a coincidence. I mean, I think Diablo 4 had their date first, and No Rest for the
These guys, this is a coincidence. This doesn't matter. Like these are also not. They're not competing on the genre at all. These are completely different games. They just have the same, top down view. Right? This doesn't matter. This is definitely like orchestrated. This is not a coincidence. There's absolutely no way within 2 days.
Wicked picked the day after. That's a questionable date choice there. If that's the order of operations on how that happened. But in general, as an aRPG enjoyer and enjoy PoE1 as well, I would love it if these gaming companies would stop releasing games at least in the same week. At least give me 7 days to blast them,
Yeah.
and then I think a lot of people, and I think in some cases the companies would benefit as well. But I'm interested in what you guys think. Do you think this is
Yeah,
planned?
I honestly believe that PoE 2 could take make it like April 11th instead. Ideally April 18th, and again PoE 2 in my opinion this would be a great way for PoE 2 to shit on Blizzard for Blizzard trying to fuck with PoE before. PoE 2 now is by far more popular than D4 in terms, well, again, not in player base because there's more brain dead people than there are like actual players. So maybe not in terms of players, but people who play both PoE 2 and D4, if you had them choose, they will play PoE 2. So that would affect D4. D4 numbers are not going to get affected unless people who are playing D4 also play PoE 2. Right? So, and if they all play both, they more than likely prefer PoE 2. So in that case, PoE 2 releasing closer to D4 would actually be a nice revenge against Blizzard, right? Either way, though, this is a dick move. It is what it is. Not much more you can say about this. I don't like this bully move, but and again, yeah, if they're both owned by Tencent, then this is more than likely it's very orchestrated. This is probably very orchestrated. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you think PoE2 here is the bully, is doing this on purpose or not. And maybe you just don't care and like fuck Last Epoch, then it is what it is.